And go.
Boom.
Whoop, whoop.
Hi, Katie.
Um, Hi, Jackie.
I'm
We
so
are live.
excited. Our
Um,
millions of fans will be joining us live.
Millions. Millions.
Millions.
300 million. Um, is it weird if I like pull up LinkedIn and have it streaming over here while we're talking over here? Is that
I don't
weird?
think so. I think you should
Okay.
try it.
Okay. I think that might be slightly distracting. And
Meta.
since
A
I
little bit.
since I already can barely pay attention to most things, that's probably not a good idea. Um, how are you this morning, my friend?
I'm doing good. I am really excited. We've had some busyness. We have had some busyness in our lives.
Yeah, we have. So this is officially the 50th episode.
I
Yes.
know.
Very exciting. And then we have like more exciting news to like share on this this 50th episode. Um, Jackie, do you want to share what's exciting and new in our world? Or are we going to wait
Well,
for a minute? Do we want to talk about other things first?
I think we should
What do you
talk
want
about
to
other
do?
things first. Maybe we
Okay.
should see if any of our millions of fans can guess exactly what's going to be happen as we come up.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yes, Elena, 50.
And I could do like the SNL skit that I'm 50. I like to stretch and I like to kick and I like to stretch. Molly Shannon, one of the best from SNL, to be clear. Yes, Elena, we are at 50, which is that like I was thinking about it this morning and I'm like, it's surprising and not it's bonkers to me that we have done this 50 times. We probably have done it more than 50, but
More.
like 50 times that we've
Absolutely.
recorded it and shared it with the world. You know.
We literally, and just if this is your first time, which I'm sure it's not, since we have, did I say millions? Billions.
Millions.
Billions.
Millions of fans globally for watching.
A lot of times, like we do this when we don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, at least every other week, at least an hour where we're not recording, and then we're like, we probably could have recorded at least part of that. Part of that was good.
Maybe not the part where we were discussing snacks and what we did over the weekend, but stuff that actually was relevant to our podcast. But can we also talk about the fact that we've had some absolutely amazing guests?
Yes.
So I think, Elena, obviously, yes, you're watching. Thank you. And Elena Joy Thurston was one of our guests. And if you have not listened to her episode, it is an amazing episode where she shares a lot about her life and, some of the experiences that she's had on her journey around officially joining the LGBTQ community. So it's a great episode if you're interested in listening. But we've had some really cool guests throughout our 50 episodes.
Well, I think what's funny also is I remember us distinctly having a conversation saying, we'll do 10.
Right.
And we'll see how it goes. And I think we didn't even publish those 10.
Right.
10 in the bag.
Yes. Well, yeah, because I think we were trying to decide. We were thinking, hey, if we just record some of these and like have them in the can, which is a show business term. I don't know if you're familiar with, listeners, but I'm like super cool. So I say, so I tell myself. But I remember that we're like, okay, we need to record like 10 and have them. So we have them. And the rest is history.
But so much has changed.
True.
Like a lot.
So I think my biggest lesson learned for those who are listening, who are podcasters or who are interested in doing a podcast, here's one thing that I learned about Jackie and I. We don't take a lot of breaths. So one of the things you have to do in podcasting is have breathtaking moments. And what I mean by that is you have to have spots where you could, insert a commercial or, just as you're changing topics, be aware and, kind of that little pause you need to take. But We don't like that. It's not as fun. It's just
No. We're just kind of like F around and find out. And the answer is no. Not a
our
space.
stream of consciousness mostly does not include breathing.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, I like this. That is true. What Elena had just mentioned 50 episodes about inclusion during the exact 18 months that inclusion mattered the most. And we weren't
absolutely.
even thinking that
Hmm. I
at
think,
the time.
if anyone has been here since the beginning, um, one of the things that we really were focused on is the fact that for Jackie and I, we were having these conversations anyhow. And so, as a white woman doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, and Jackie in the same space on the recruiting side of things, we both were just having these conversations.
Wait,
And I
back up.
think,
I was looking for a safe white person. Just to
okay,
be
that's
clear.
fair.
I was
That's
looking
fair.
for, it's like,
Have you decided I'm safe yet?
no. No. I'll let you know after 50 more episodes.
Hold your breath, folks. At any moment, she could decide I'm the one. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's funny how this all kind of came to be. That it was really we're having these conversations about what's going on in your world, what's going on in my world, and you know how things were messy, super messy in
yeah.
both of our worlds, and the things that we were dealing with with organizations, and even just in our own lives. And I think for so many folks, hopefully what we're talking about resonates, and hopefully it is something that is helpful as we're having these conversations. And I joke around because I listen to a lot of murder podcasts, which is one of my
Not safe. That's why you're not safe.
that's why I'm not safe, maybe. But because of that, I think it's you start to hear some things, and you start to like think about how these conversations evolve. And even those hopefully a lot of times have a kind of a resolution. And for us, there isn't a resolution on so many of these things yet, and it's still a work in progress, and there's still so much to be done. And I think that's the part that is unfortunate, but also is kind of cool, because we're trying to have fun as we're doing this, but we also know that it's extremely heavy. And for so many of the practitioners that are doing this work, it's really heavy. And that's what we're trying
It's
to.
if someone said my joy is heavy once, and I love that, because some of the work is so it's so it gets you right in all the feels, and you know that you're doing good work, but the work it takes to get there can be really tough. Um, and we've had things on both sides. I'd say both sides, meaning there's been situations where maybe I wasn't received very well by an organization. It's like, well, how am I supposed to deal with that? Or Katie not being well received at an organization. And I mean, and that's really kind of how this all started. Was we were doing this diversity work and being like, okay, I'm just not sure. I have a question. I mean, I'll never forget
Mhm.
one of the first, and I was like, I said, I think it went kind of like this. Katie, you're white. I have a question. Why do white people, and you literally were like, stop. Are you asking me to speak for the whole white race? And I was like, yes, actually. If you could just answer this one
You could go ahead and knock
question.
that out. That'd be great.
And
Thanks.
it wasn't, I mean, I was teasing, of course, but it was one of those things where we genuinely have different experiences, and it is because of being able to find a safe person to have some difficult discussions and work through it, at least in our frame of reference, and then also we're able to share what we've learned from our clients along the way, and kind of try to suss it out. But I tell people, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that I'm not an expert. I'm just a student, and I try to share
Mhm.
as much as possible. And it's infinite waters with sharks that we have to go through in order to try to, find the way to do it. Not every day is great.
No. But there are wins along the way that do kind of reassure me and make me feel good. I was actually thinking last week, coming up to Halloween, I was thinking we should do like a spooky episode of all of the absolutely bananas things we've heard from senior leadership teams. But then I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to like have that conversation. I don't
Not
think I'm
outside of therapy, for
right. I
sure.
don't think right.
Absolutely
I don't
not.
think I'm mentally prepared. Um, but that being said, like I think there have been those moments when, to your point, we've had different experiences, and it is, I was joking about not breathing and that kind of thing, but it is that stream of consciousness a little bit that as you are hearing us talk, these are conversations that we're truly having with each other about, can you believe this? Did you see this? What about that? How are your thoughts? What are you thinking about this? So I think it's that's the part that I love, is that you and I can have those conversations and can, kind of talk about what's what and how it's impacting both of us differently. So I love that.
I do love that too. Are you gonna cry?
You bet. No, I'm not. Not today.
Okay.
Um, I can't, because this is live. If it's like recording, I think I could cry, but not today.
Not online.
Uh-huh. So Jacqueline.
We're about to come up to our favorite I think we should do another food special for
Ooh.
that day that some people refer to as Thanksgiving.
It's interesting because I was discussing with my sister-in-law, because I think I told you last year we actually made tamales for the first time. My sister-in-law, like, it was a whole production. And I think my brother almost had, I shouldn't say this out loud. It's not right. My brother was definitely, I don't know if you know this, but mixing masa is like very hard work because it is thick and it's a lot, especially if you're making like 25 pounds of masa for tamales for, 50 bazillion dozen or however many we've made. It wasn't 50 bazillion, but a lot of dozens. And so my brother was like, breaking out in a sweat, had to take breaks. And I was like, should I get the defibrillator out? I'm a little concerned. But he did it. He was our master mixer, if you will. And so we were making tamales last year, and we were just discussing as a family who was going to host the tamale making extravaganza this year. And my sister-in-law has the perfect kitchen for it, because she put this island in her kitchen that is absolutely ginormous. And she's like, it's not for tamale making. That's not why I did it. I'm like, oh, you for sure put that in your kitchen just
Fully.
for tamales, which I support 1000%. But yeah, I think we should do a food episode.
Yeah, I think it's fun, and talking about the different things. And I've learned a lot about food and how it relates to culture, or people taking away people's culture in the last year, of kind of looking at that correlation. But you know what? I want to talk about something. I think that it's kind of off. We haven't rehearsed this at all, but
Great.
I want to get your opinion, just like our regular, Wednesday night margarita conversations.
Mm-hmm.
How, when you've talked to your clients and you see something that's alarming that you need to fix, how do you package that back to your client and or the person who hired you to come say, oh, because I mean, like, to be clear, nobody asks for a diversity person to come help their teams because diversity is going well. They never call us in to say, oh, we're so diverse and everybody loves each other so much and loves each other's diverse cultures. We'd love to have you just as a bonus day. And so there are times when things are brought to our attention that we have to make note of, like we have to have those uncomfortable conversations. But someone asked me about that recently. And so I wanted to ask you, how do you take that information back to the people that you're working with?
Usually it depends on the client. So I'll put that caveat up front. But the reason why they've brought me in is for my honesty and for they want to know. And sometimes they say they want to know, but they really don't. But for the most part, they want to know. And so what I like to do is figure out what data I have around whatever that topic might be, or whatever that, whatever it is that's happening. Try to see if I can find data to support the theory or the comment or whatever it might be. But then it really is going and just saying, hey, we need to talk about something and it's not awesome. But we need to have this conversation now before it blows up or before it becomes something that we can't fix. And I am very much the person, I talk about this, that some of the DEI work that has been done in the past few years includes this fear factor. And it is the fear factor of CEOs that I don't want to end up on the front page of whatever, publication that, we did something wrong. And we've seen it. And we've talked about those times when it has shown up on whatever publication. And so my part of, what I think about is also that fear factor for CEOs that, hey, I want you to know what's going on here before you end up on the news, before you end up as that next company that has the issue or the whatever. So for me, it's more, I try to be as clear as I can, but I also try to be as thoughtful as possible about how to say it in the right way. So it isn't, because for a lot of CEOs and even for, CHROs or chief people officers, this is their baby. And so when you're talking about their company, when you're talking about their people, it impacts them very personally. And so knowing that, just being thoughtful about how you approach it so that it isn't a, hey, your baby is ugly. And it's the, hey, your baby's doing something it shouldn't. Let's correct that behavior.
Let's talk about that baby.
Let's talk about that baby. That sweet, sweet little nugget. So what about you? What do you do?
Yes, I'm the same. I've always been data driven, of just showing you call it, you say I look for the data, but I always create I'm just saying report. Because we talk about like systemic racism or sexism or ageism or what has been created by the system and how everybody has been impacted by that. But then a lot of organizations have little mini systems internally. And then within that company, it's a department that seems to have an issue, even with good intention. Can still create a toxic environment. And so I just let them know at the numbers, and then I start formulating a plan of suggesting ways that I know, or do we need to call an expert? There's certain things with my recruiting experience has always been on the corporate side. So there's different industries that I might not be able to speak to right away, and I need someone else who has that level of expertise to come in. But I've also I think people crave the information. There's people on the one side that are very nervous, but they want to have the facts and the data. And then there's other people that really want to learn and grow and don't know where to go. And I've been giving a lot of resources, but from a client perspective, it's like, okay, we really have to dig in and figure out where this is coming from and what we can do in order to help. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem on your hands. And because it ends up being like an infection, like that permeates. And even people, again, who are well-intended can create this infection internally. And I think a lot of it has to do with that psychological safety and not feeling comfortable going to that space. And previously, there's been times when I've been very, very uncomfortable. And had to learn how to find some type of comfort in that discomfort. And then sometimes it's been the opposite, where it's like, are you trying to trick me? Are you trying to trick me? Like I was having a conversation with a group of people, and we were talking about how we were going to implement some stuff. And these people were not in diversity and inclusion work, but they were talking about like assuming good intent, and everybody's like, oh, we should just assume good intent. And I was like, I don't even know what that's like. Like I can't. And it's funny, like when we talk about different things or privileges, like people wouldn't realize like that the fact that you could say let's assume positive intent is the absolute privilege that under supported, under recognized, whatever the word that you're using, don't have the luxury, which is why we're in these spots. So many people are in these spots because you can't assume. The assuming
Mhm.
positive intent is what gets you hurt. And so it's like how I think we're still learning how to connect with each other as we go through these journeys.
Mhm. Agreed. It's interesting because, that kind of the whole safety piece is, I do a talk on safety and bravery, and I recently did it for a group here in Arizona. And um, I did a debrief with one of the teams that I support, and we were talking about, being brave and taking, kind of speaking up for yourself, or calling out privilege, or calling out to a person in a position of power, what might be wrong or what might be going on. And I got a follow up email that was basically, that's great. However, I have tried to do this. And even just in the last few months, this has come up a couple times. And each time I've had my hand slapped, or it has impacted me personally. And so, to your point, it's I can't assume that it's going to be okay if I am brave, or if I take that chance, or if I speak up, or if I do whatever. And, and I always caveat the assuming positive intent with knowing the impact of your words. So it's assume positive intent, but know the impact of your words, because it's kind of that, um, hey, when you are saying things, or when you're doing things, or feeling certain things, you also have to understand the impact of the words that you're sharing, or that you're saying to someone. And so I think that's a piece that's also missing sometimes from that assuming positive intent. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's a privilege to say, oh, I can assume positive intent. It's, a privileged conversation. So it's just interesting. And again, this is also where that dynamic is of, maybe it's because of where I am in my career, and, that type of thing. But I am kind of yeah, I'm going to say a thing. But Tara, yes, thank you for your comment. This is something I regret saying early in my career. It is a privilege to assume positive intent. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something that people we just don't realize, and we don't realize how important it actually is. So,
And I think that that was something that we've discussed, and that was part of the conversations that we have, that we try to put onto our podcast as well, is how was your world focused around this issue? What were you taught about this? Or how did this impact your life? And take that information and share, because I think what I've learned, especially doing this particular work through the years, is that the of things that we're asking people to unlearn, a majority of it are things they think are fact. This is not like, oh, I'll teach you more. This is not like, how do you make fondue? Like, here's a recipe. Oh, thank you so much. This is not that.
I have a great fondue recipe,
I
just
would love
FYI,
to
Jackie.
have it. Cheese or chocolate?
Both. I have one for either or. Not combined,
Boom.
though, because that would be gross. But sorry, I digress.
But you digress. But what were we talking about? Hi, my name is Jackie. Thank you for coming to the Inclusive AF podcast. I don't even think we've done that, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. 50th episode, Inclusive AF podcast. Thanks for joining
Pray
us.
that we get a 51st.
We are going to have a 51st, and it's actually happening this afternoon that we're going to be recording it, my friend.
Wait,
I don't know.
what did I do?
Can you please check your calendar? Okay, Jackie's playing something in the background, so good times. I don't know what's happening. She's like, I think she might be replaying what I said I was going to do in the beginning, where I was going to pull up LinkedIn and play LinkedIn. I think she just did. So she's like
I just
listening to us.
No, I was listening to Life Labs. I have a Life Labs learning up, but I didn't. Clicked it.
Play.
What y'all doing? Click. I'm busy. I'm in training. Thanks. See y'all later.
Okay, now I really don't remember what we were If anyone is
Diversity. It's not
listening,
like people
yeah.
ask you to come in with a recipe because they're excited and want you to just do a thing.
Oh my God. So
Like I just remember having to train. I used to work at a company called Holiday Retirement that did retirement homes, and a majority of the salespeople were nowhere near retirement home age, and they would be like,
was that a problem?
this is the coolest place. Like there's food here and there's, we have friends and people coming. And we used to explain to them when people are coming in to look at one of these communities, there is a catalyst that caused this and it's never positive.
Mhm.
Never.
Right.
Like, because you had to pull back on your enthusiasm to try to learn the people. It's like we're literally asking people to take, sometimes 3,000 square foot home or even 1,200 square foot home and 50 years and put it in a suitcase and bring it over. And so it's the same thing that we have to remember when we go in. We always know there's somebody who's here who doesn't want to be here. There's somebody
Mhm.
who's here who's glad to be here just because they disagree with everything that we say. There's going to be people here who really love what we have to say, but think it's should be handled differently because their situation is more important than any of the other situations. That used to be me, by the way. It's like we don't talk about when I was younger. It's like, can we just talk about like the stuff that affects me? No.
Mhm.
And so it's hard meeting everybody where they are. There's a lot of pieces. It's a very complex onion that we have to peel.
Absolutely. So, Jackie, are you ready?
Am I ready? Oh,
Yes.
do you want me to do the thing? You're going to do the thing.
You're going to do the thing. So we brought you all here today. Thank you for joining us. We are gathered here today.
To get to this thing called life.
We sure are.
We're doing a
And
thing.
we're doing a thing. What thing are we doing, Jack?
We are joining Evergreen Podcasts to be with a network of podcasters.
Woo woo!
And we're going to be with other HR podcasters.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to encourage you to listen to us and our friends.
Yes, we are. So, yes, we are now a part of the Evergreen Podcast family, if you will.
And you
We're
may
part
have
of,
heard of some of the people on podcasts.
yes, you might have. So, I don't know if anyone knows the Chat and Cheese podcast. That's one of them. Jim Stroud's podcast is another one. James Ellis has the Talent Cast. And of course, our very, very dear friends, Torin and Julie with Crazy and the King.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're very excited to be a part of this new family. And you can still find us, obviously, at our website and on all of the different streaming services. But we're part of a new family.
We have friends now beside each other.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, that is a stretch. We have people that will take our call.
Yes. who have to take our call because we signed documents that say they have to call us back or whatever. So yeah.
So great. I mean, it's great. We're really excited and we're actually learning how to be podcasters.
So on our 50th episode, we now are starting to learn what we're supposed to do.
And we already broke the rules. Introduce yourself.
It's totally working out. So it's funny because, like I said, some of the things that we're learning about are taking breaths and, hey, how are we describing this episode? And do we have the links that we discussed? Because I don't know if you know this. Any of you who've listened to our podcast, we talk about different links or different books or different things, and then we just kind of forget to put it in the notes.
Every once in a while, there's a few.
Yeah, so we're working on that. Just we're actually working on a whole repository, if you will, of links and different things, because that's one of the things that we'll be featuring on the show notes now, is actually doing what we say we're going to do. Shockingly, that is something we're supposed to do. I don't know
And
if
we
anybody
do
knows
hard
this.
work. This should
Yeah.
not be hard.
Well, it is kind of funny because it is that, hey, oh yeah, remember we need to send that to so and so and do the things. But we have been very fortunate in that, you all have listened and stayed as listeners, even though we are just muddling through how to do this at times. Doing the best we can, folks, doing the best we can. But we really want to make sure that we're being thoughtful about, especially our guests and folks that are sharing their stories. And, we have had folks come on that have been really, really forthcoming with things that have occurred to them. And I think the part that I love the most, and I don't know how you think about this, but I love being able in just normal conversations to say to someone, oh, you should listen to this episode with, Dr. Corey, who's talking about,
Yes.
whatever. Or, hey, Tara Robertson has some amazing experiences that she shared, or whatever it might be. And having some of those different guests on that, we just had Joseph, and I'm not going to try and say his last name.
Nope.
Nope. But like the technology that is also being built in this space, where I think our friend George LaRoque is listening, and he knows all about the HR technology space. And he and I have had some spirited conversations when I've said, where is the DEI technology? Tell me where it is. And, now to see some of these things popping up and coming to fruition that I know have kind of been in the back of people's minds of, we need a technology that does this. We need a technology that does that. And obviously you're living it, being at Textio, where it is a technology that's doing something that's really helping to level the playing field and to eliminate bias and just some of these things that Textio was like kind of the one for a very long time. And you had, Culture Amp and SurveyMonkey, who were doing things around surveys that were, again, trying to get that feedback of really what is it like for different populations? What is the employee experience? Are they engaged? All of these things. But I think those are for the fun conversations too, is just learning about different technologies, learning about different things that are happening in this space that we wouldn't normally have access to. And so, I think that's the part that I'm super stoked about. And I already mentioned Tara's name, but we're going to be talking to her later this afternoon and recording for our 51st episode. She just co-authored an article in Harvard Business Review that we're super excited to talk to her about. And we have been promising you that she was coming back, and she really is. I haven't just been making that up.
Additionally, I talked to Guli this past week, and he's coming back with a portfolio. Helvetica asked when they could come back. I was like,
nice. Anytime.
Because we're such great hosts.
I think we should also, we need to do, and we've talked about this with a few folks from different conferences. I still want to go live at some of the conferences that we attend anyhow, now that we're kind of getting back into this space and getting, back to being in person. But I would love to do, kind of go live and do a podcast and start to talk to some of our friends that you all have heard about, but maybe haven't actually met. And so wait for it. It's coming. It's coming at some point, I promise.
I think it's so important, and it would be so great to do a live Q&A in person and getting some of those things, and even just allowing people scheduling some things out so we can help. I mean, this has always been a labor of love. It was John Sumser that said, people who do diversity work are like missionaries. You're just trying to get to as many people as possible to try to share the information without ever knowing if you can reach everyone, but you're going to try. And I would love to help share some of the information or share some of the tools what we've learned about, so that people can, because I feel like I said, so many people are craving the information and just want a library of tools. And we want to share what we've found and help people. Maybe we should do something to teach people how to have these conversations.
Yes. I think, and I guess that's part of it too, is that I think you and I both are hopeful that what we're sharing, what we're talking about is helpful to other folks that are in this space, or those that aren't in this space that are just like, I don't even know where to start. Um, but I also think it would be, we've said this before, and if you're listening right now and there's things that you want us to talk about, or there's questions that you have that you want us to try to answer, or answer in the way that we would, um, let us know, because I think this is one of the things, we've done a couple Q&A episodes where we've received questions from folks, and tried to answer them the best way that we could. But I think that's something that we want to continue doing, is we know that these conversations that Jackie and I are having, we want other folks to be having as well, and not just us on this podcast. But if there's ways that we can help you to start the conversation or continue the conversation or whatever it might be. And I think, talking about the food episode, I think there's also this piece of, we're going into that holiday time where these conversations come up when you're sitting around the table with your uncle, who's had too many glasses of whatever.
Drunk uncle.
Drunk uncle is sitting around the table saying some stuff that maybe isn't so great. Because I think there's also that piece too of, how do we navigate this, even just personally, as we are, thinking about stuff, and working through some of the stuff. So anyhow,
I think that's a good idea.
Yes. What else? I mean, I think like we haven't recorded in probably, it's been like a week and a half, right? Because we've talked a few times, but we haven't actually recorded anything. I think there's so many different topics that we could go into. I think we could talk about Dave Chappelle, but I just don't know that I even I don't know even
where to start, with that. And we're kind of looking at, I mean, here's the thing, like, I feel like I want to make sure, and this is something that we can do as we go into the next episodes, I want people to feel like they have a place to heal, and I want people to heal as well. I think we've shared some of that, and we need to have those resources as well. And I think that his words hurt a lot of people. And I don't think the response has been great. And I think that there are people that need additional resources to learn to heal. And it is, we don't hang out as much or see people as much. And so these things affect us, I think, even greater now, because, you don't have your regular outlet or resources to even depend on, or your friends as much, because some of us are still isolated. I don't know what else is happening out there in the great state of Texas. I heard that we don't have COVID anymore in Texas. No, I don't know.
All set. You're all set. Same in Arizona. We don't either, but
awesome.
It's all working out.
Right.
Yeah. So I know you said you did not watch this latest deal. I think the thing that is the most frustrating about it, there are multiple things. The first thing is, so I did watch it because I was like, I want to be informed. I want to actually see for myself. I have always been a fan of Dave Chappelle. I think the last couple of specials are recorded, like the Netflix stuff. He has done so much good, being very direct and having some of these conversations, and he has done so much harm. And so there is this, how do you justify that, or how do you think about that? And I know that, he's getting people to think about things that they maybe have not thought about before, but it's like, to what end? And how are you harming folks in the end? And to your point, like, what resources can we provide, or can we think about providing for folks that are in that position? I think the other piece for me, it was the most awkward thing to watch, because you could tell the audience was doing like the nervous giggle for 90% of the jokes. Like you could tell people were like, should I be laughing at this? And, oh, okay, is my face being recorded as I'm laughing? So many of the examples that he gave were off as well, of like, it just didn't make sense. And it just wasn't, It wasn't great. So that's an unfortunate one. On the positive, I don't know if you saw the new outfits for this is on a very different plane. Now we're going to
Like, what?
for the women's volleyball.
No.
I think it was volleyball. It's oh goodness gracious. The handballs, I beg your pardon, handball, they just changed the uniform rules. So that is, they no longer have to wear the bikinis and they had the tank and then the bikini bottoms. So now they can wear shorts and an actual tank top that, covers themselves. And I mean, that was, based on the Norwegian team protesting and saying, we're not doing this. And I think, this is where I get excited because it is that showing the support and saying this is not okay and taking those risks and being brave, you start to see change happen, which makes me happy. And so I think that's one of the things that, as we can celebrate a success like that, I think it might seem simple to people, but it's huge. And it is a huge thing that, once you have that first domino fall, other things start to fall in place as well. And so I think this is a good thing. I want to just ride that high for a minute. I don't want to talk about the Supreme Court right now, just because I mean, they're talking about guns, they're talking about Texas and the abortion ban, and they're talking about a lot of things that are extremely heavy right now. And not that I don't want to talk about them, but and I don't know if you feel differently. If you want to jump in, we can. But there's a lot going on with the Supreme Court right now.
I just want to wait until we get to a period in the day of where we are. There's so many things that are flying around. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around it, especially it affects so closely, right? It affects and it's really hard and frustrating on how we're navigating. And I just keep asking, like, did people relax? Are we doing enough? Are we not doing the right thing? Like, it's still amazing that things come up, and it was like there was the parody, and it was like a song that was like, oh, they only care about you before you're born. Like, there's because we're not going to support you through education. We don't want to support you by giving you clothes or food or shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating and it's embarrassing. And it's hard. It just touches. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
And I think we could go there, but I think it's like, where are we even at right now?
Right. There was also, I don't know if you saw one of the other cases that was up for consideration and they declined to even hear it, was about a transgender man who Dignity Health was trying to deny services to. They wanted a hysterectomy. And so the Catholic-based Dignity Health said, we won't, that's considered an elective surgery. And so the lawsuit, basically, they did decline to hear it. And so they will get the services they need. And so it is one of those things that I think we're seeing some positives happen, but we're also seeing it's, two steps forward, three steps back.
It's just going to get messier.
Uh-huh.
And it's making sure that we are paying attention, that we can navigate through that space. And that's what I've said. It's like, it's not my body, my choice if I can't make some of those things like for my health.
Right.
Know?
Right.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah. Where are we even right now? I don't know where we're at. I it's like, that's the thing. It's like, there's been so many, like, I really, really prayed and hoped that we would be done with all of this, like, WTF, like, but we're not. And we have to be vigilant. And I worry.
Right.
I worry a lot.
Yes. But I also, like, I will tell you, talking to folks like Guli, like Helvetica, where I also see, there's so much awareness that I don't think I had at their age, and so much knowledge and so many things that are happening that are positive. That I know that Clay just recently accepted a position, and so that
I
is very
know.
exciting.
I mean,
Like
it's like we have a future. There is a future, and we were talking because Clay is my oldest, had math major, completed all the math, right?
Smartest in the
Senior
land.
year, her classes are like yoga, poetry.
Hey, they're taking advantage of all those things that they maybe didn't get to do because they were buckling down freshman, sophomore, and junior
taking
year.
math, like took like 4 math classes freshman,
right?
But then was like, I just pray that they get through this, because it's like we're taking like African American studies, the history of slavery in the Caribbean.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
But it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, Clay's funny. Like when they played basketball and something would happen on the court, we'd be like, Mom. And it's still like, Mom, have you heard of
Did you know?
Revolution? Yeah, I've heard of it. Tell me more. Did you know France on one side and Spain on the other? Tell me more. Tell me more.
But again, how cool is that?
It was so cool. And I was like, and look at us. Look at us now, And it's just knowing that I'm proud that someone so smart is learning those things. And I just hope that we have to do the work, and we have to make the information accessible. It's part of the reason why we do these things, to try to inspire people to do their learning. But also so that we are paying attention, because we know what happens when you don't pay attention.
Eric's question is what happens. Where are we even at right now? So yes, that is what happens when we're not paying attention. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, I don't even know.
I think you know.
What else? What else? I'm trying to think of what else we haven't talked about that we need to talk about.
I think you were I think that it's interesting right now that they're making vaccines for younger people, which is good.
Yeah.
That could potentially be helpful. But I think about that now because my youngest is an education major. So there's that.
The children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way, Jackie.
Fully. Please go lead, do.
Today and today only.
But we don't have to talk about all the things. I think it's safe that we talk about what is the one thing that you want our billions of fans to take away from this, our 50th episode.
We love you. Thank you for listening. I think that's the biggest one for me, is how, like, the fact that we have 50 episodes that we have put out there and that people are listening to, and we know people are listening. And, I think every time that you and I look at the reports, we're like, wait, what? People are actually,
Katie, somebody's listening to us in France.
Don't you know? France also needs this help. So thank you to all of you who are listening and continue to listen. We truly appreciate the support. And that I think the other piece is keep it coming. Like again, what questions should we be asking ourselves, talking about what would be helpful, what resources would be helpful, because, the whole point of this is to share our conversations that we're having, but it's with the hope that other people can get something from it and can take something from it that they can then use in their own lives. And so, those are the two things for me. I know you said one, and I know we never do
We
one
never
really,
do
but
one. I would.
so those are my two.
Your two. And for my one, I'll do three. Just kidding.
Here are my 17-point plan. Here is my 17-point plan of what you should take from this.
I just want people, I want to, get in good trouble. It's back to that good trouble and speaking up
Yes.
and trying to be a voice for
What are you playing
others.
with over there, Jackie?
Nothing.
Put it down because we can
Putting
hear it.
down.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't
Sorry,
playing with
folks.
anything.
Lies.
But
this is what we normally edit out of the episode.
That's what happens when you do it live.
Right.
At least our executive producer did not pop in and out. That was kind of a miracle.
Not, yeah, with water or eggs or anything.
Scrambled eggs. I'm about to do a podcast. Here are your eggs.
Thank you, Todd Clayton, for all you do.
That's right. That's right. No, but I mean, really trying to support and learn how to be a good ally. I think we all need more allies.
Mm-hmm.
And let's do this. Let's do this.
Was that 50 more? 50 more people.
Cheers,
let's do 50 more. Cheers. Yeah, cheers your water.
Yep.
We should have done this in the afternoon so we could have done happy hour and actually cheers on something other than water.
Who said that's water?
Yes, sir. It is afternoon there, so I guess you could get a little bit crazy town. Yeah, I was to say that would really ruin the rest of my day. I couldn't do that. I'd be just tired.
Sleep.
Yeah, I have 92 meetings, so I can't do that. But thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric, for listening.
And thanks to all of you. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.